Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be recapping the 2023 Oregon Ducks season. We previewed them early on in the channel, and now we're going to recap them based on the expectations we had. But before we get into all that, please do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're new to the channel. We have a huge giveaway coming on the 21st, Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be giving away a signed Heisman jersey. You'll have to be at the live in order to get a chance to win that. So please show up for us and show out. But Dad, how do you feel about the Oregon Ducks and the way their season ended?
Yeah, the tough part is when you look at this season in totality. Now, let me go back. If you guys remember the preview video, I had Oregon winning the Pac-12,
which was close.
It's tough. It's tough when at the end of the day you've lost to one team and you lost to them by a total of 6 points. Both of those games could have gone either way, but Washington won fair and square. Oregon lost. I think outside of that, Oregon had an amazing season. They were in the national championship hunt, the playoff hunt, the entire season. They went to the Pac-12 championship. Bo Nix over 4,500 yards, 45 touchdowns, an amazing season. They had a rusher over 1,000 yards, another rusher over 700 yards, two receivers over 1,000 yards. Played good defense. And really, if you take away the two Washington games, they really dominated this entire season. They had a very good year. But you lose to the same team twice. You don't end up in the championship. Some people may consider this a disappointment. Like I said, my thoughts from the very beginning was they would lose to Washington once. They would beat them in the Pac-12 championship. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. But this was a very good team. I think they have a lot to be happy about. They are bringing back, and I know we're going to dip deep into this, they're bringing back key players. They have brought key players over. We'll talk about that. This is a team that is going to be a concern next year, and probably if I had to list my 6 or 7 teams that I would right now put in the national championship hunt for next year, this is one of the teams that would be on my list. So nothing to hang your head about if you're an Oregon Ducks fan. You're 12-2 is a great season by anybody's standards. And like I said, when you can really boil that down to, they lost 2 games by a total of 6 points, really to one team. Nothing to be upset about.
Definitely. So, my thoughts on this team, you were obviously a little bit higher on them than I was. I was very high on USC coming into the year. I was completely wrong about that one, obviously. But I also didn't think, into week 3 or 4, I didn't think we were going to get a Pac-12 team in the playoffs. Obviously, we had Washington in the national championship, which neither of us had them. You had Oregon, obviously. I had USC winning the Pac-12. But I think this was a great year for Oregon. Obviously, I didn't think Bo Nix would play this well. And I'm not sure if I said this on the channel before or not, but I think Bo Nix should have won the Heisman. I think based on the stats that he had, being 12-2, finishing, 2 or 3, 4 spots out of the playoffs, I think he should have got it over James Daniels. 45 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. That is outstanding, especially when you're talking about a guy who came from Auburn and he never has even been close to Heisman contention. So I think having that sort of leap and kind of national spotlight put on him. He's played against, crazy good teams this year, obviously playing the runner-up 2 times, being in that game both times, very close, playing well in both of those games. Obviously losing one time on the road and then losing in Vegas in the Pac-12 title game. But I just think overall a really good year for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you talked a little bit about next year. I'm going to go out and say it now. I talked to you earlier. Oregon or Ohio State is my favorite for the Big Ten. I'm leaning more towards Oregon just because of how good they looked this year. Obviously, I did not think Ohio State was going to bring this much back. So I'm starting to kind of even that out. Obviously, we talked about them a bit, which we're going to get into the preview and, Big Ten preview later on down the line in a couple of months. But Oregon's bringing back a lot. Obviously, they bring in the number 1 receiver in the transfer portal, Evan Stewart. They bring over not 1 quarterback, but 2 quarterbacks in the portal. Dillon Gabriel, who in my opinion is probably the best quarterback in the portal this year. And then you bring over Dante Moore, who's going to be your quarterback of the future over from UCLA, former number 1 quarterback,
which was a crazy transfer to me.
Makes no sense. But still, you bring back Tez Johnson, who I thought was going to go to the draft. I'm not sure if Troy Franklin has announced, but I'm almost positive he's going to leave. I know Bucky Irving is gone, so that's going to be a pretty big loss. They're going to have to fill that running back spot. But I think this team is going to be a very good team next year. Obviously, Ohio State plays at Oregon next year. We're going to be going to that game. This game just got so much more exciting now. Arguably game of the year, early on at least. with how much people are coming back and how much we know about each team, this has to be a top 5 or so matchup heading into next year. Because I believe
Absolutely.
Ohio State will be top 5. Oregon should be right around top 5. I think they play in October, if I'm not
They play
mistaken.
early. It's like
Yeah,
October 12th. And I may
yeah.
have that date wrong, but I know it's like
I think it
October
is
12th.
October 12th. I'm pretty sure because me and Edgar were looking at it. So we're definitely going to go to that game. But I think
Absolutely. Have to.
if you're an Oregon fan, Duck fan Dane, I know you're going to watch this video. There's no reason why you shouldn't feel optimistic about next year and you shouldn't
Yeah.
be happy about the way the season ended. Obviously, when you're a team like Oregon, like Ohio State, like Alabama, a team who has a national championship or has been in that conversation, you obviously, when you are 12-2 and you are a field goal away from beating the runner-up in Washington, you wish you would have won that game. But at the end of the day, you can't win them all. And being 12-2, that is other teams' Super Bowl. That's other teams, peak of their program.
Season of their program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it was a great year. I think it's going to do wonders for recruiting for Oregon. Excuse me. Obviously, you saw Evan Stewart come over. You
Yeah.
saw Dante Moore. Both those guys are very young. I think they're both going to be. Evan Stewart might be going into his junior year actually, but Dante Moore is going to be a sophomore, which is still obviously very young. So I just think this program is heading in the right direction. Obviously, they're going to the Big Ten. A lot of big teams out there to kind of compete with. But I think the Pac-12 with that kind of conference dissolving, you have the Big Four, if you will, with the 12-team playoff. You're going to get 2 to 3 teams in the Big Ten every
Yeah, I
year.
agree.
And I would say, of the Big Ten teams, there's really 4 programs. That's USC, Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State. You have Penn State and Washington kind of creeping in behind, but those 4 teams are really the blue bloods, if you will. And Oregon, I wouldn't say is a blue blood, but they're getting there. So you have
Yeah, I
those
think
4
they've been relevant for,
a decade at minimum.
yeah, if
Um,
not longer.
yeah, so I think you're in a really good spot. You're in a competitive conference to kind of have the strength of schedule to put yourself in position to compete for national championships. It's just a matter of Dan Lanning staying, which we saw. Obviously, he turned down the Alabama job. So I'm sure he's going to sign a big another contract extension, which I'm not sure if he did or not already, but he wants to create a legacy there and a dynasty there, and I respect him for that. So I'm very excited to see kind of how this program elevates and consistently grows. What is your thoughts on them joining the Big Ten? And
Yeah.
other than Michigan, is this the other team that you're concerned about?
Yeah. Because you are probably, and again, I'm going to be real early in this, so please do not bash me. Well, I don't care if you bash me, but if I'm a little misspoken in this, but we may be talking about the best receiving core coming back in college football when you talk about Tez staying and then Evan Stewart coming over. That 1-2 punch is serious. I talked about Jordan James, the 700-yard rusher coming back, and Dillon Gabriel. First of all, he's been in college for 15 years, I think. He's played on like 7 different teams, but he is a legit college football quarterback. He is good. He is legitimately good. We talked about him in the Heisman race earlier, not earlier, but last year when he was at Oklahoma.
Midway through the
This
year.
is a very good college quarterback. This is a scary team. And the only thing that you kind of hope is that chemistry is the issue, right? Because you're adding a quarterback. You're now turning over the running duties to Jordan James to be the bell cow. You're adding a 1 or 1A receiver in Evan Stewart. There's going to be some turnover in defense. So you're hoping that maybe the chemistry doesn't mesh right away. If as an Ohio State fan, I am happy that we have them early because we're hoping that we're bringing back a lot of people that have been on the team. Now, obviously, we're adding Judkins, we're adding Howard at quarterback, but that defense has all been there. Most of them are going to be returning. So I believe we have a little bit better in terms of chemistry. But this Oregon team, I early pick. I believe they're going to be in the playoffs. Just like I'd say about Ohio State, I believe this Oregon team, and I believe the winner of that game, and this is the fortunate but unfortunate part about this 12-team playoffs, is I think that takes down the value of that game a little bit. Because if you had to ask me, win or lose, I think both of these teams end up in the college football playoffs if we're talking about 12 teams.
Yeah, I think Oregon gets in the playoffs. I'd be very surprised if they had a 3-loss season. I do not see
Right.
that happening.
No, me either.
This team is absolutely loaded. They are going to be, in my opinion, a top 5 team. In the preseason polls, they have to be. I think Dillon Gabriel is the most proven and, heading into next year, the most veteran quarterback in
Yeah, he
college
probably
football.
is, yeah.
And I'm sure there's 6 and 7 year guys, but I'm talking about guys who can
In terms
legitimately
of with
compete,
production.
like compete for a national championship and a Heisman. He's got to be, up there. We saw him do it at UCF. We saw him
UCF,
do
yeah.
it at Oklahoma, and now he's going to a place that has better talent than at least UCF, and I would say even Oklahoma, because Oklahoma was a bit down and with the transfer portal as well.
Yeah.
So I would say Oregon has the better weapons and the better talent there. And a lot of you guys probably know this as Oregon fans, but he's following in a few Hawaiian quarterbacks there. I know he's going to be wearing number 8, and he
Like
kind of
Marcus.
got the blessing for that. So that's going to be pretty cool to see. Obviously, if you don't know me, my dad, he was stationed in Hawaii, so I pretty much grew up there. I was born and raised there, so kind of cool
I
to
think
see
we lived
him.
there like 10, 12 years.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see him go from Mililani High School and kind of circle his way back to Oregon. That has, and if you're from Hawaii, most people from Hawaii are Oregon fans because of Mariota, Jeremiah Masoli, and those kind of guys. So I think it's going to be nice to see him there.
Well, you
Hopefully,
went back, boy. They don't know Jeremiah Masoli. Why you took him back a little
if,
bit?
if you're an Oregon fan, you got to know who that is. But yeah, I think they're going to have a really good year. I would pencil him in as a top 5 or so Heisman contender. And then, like we said, you have Dante Moore still to kind of learn from that veteran leadership.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think there's not going to be a huge drop off. He was starting as a true freshman at UCLA, put up some decent numbers.
Which is why I think it's crazy that he
with a less
transferred to
talented
Oregon.
team as well. So I'm very excited to see how this team looks. But again, if you're an Oregon fan, should not be hanging your head. 12-2 is a really good year. 40-point win in the Fiesta Bowl in the Year 6 game. Obviously, you played against a Group of 5 team, but still a 40-point win.
Liberty was what, an undefeated team going in, right?
They're undefeated,
yeah.
So let us know in the comment section, Oregon fans, what you guys think about your guys' season. What are your optimism levels? What is your expectation for next year? And as always, if you're new to the channel, please, please, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, like the video. It helps share to new viewers and new potential subscribers. Again, we have a big giveaway coming in 8 days from now. Sunday the 21st, we're going to be giving away a signed Heisman jersey. You have to be there in order to win that jersey. And we have the live show tomorrow, so please show up. We're going to be talking about the Deborah hiring. We're going to be talking about the rest of the offseason, any other teams you guys want to recap or kind of just go over, and we will see you guys then. Peace out.